This question is for Mr. Linden. You were a guest on several game shows. Which one was your favorite?
Favorite game show?
They were all, I love them all. Actually, Alan Linden said that I gave the best password he ever heard. Shall I give it to you?
Yes.
See who gets it. Resign.
Nixon is what they're saying.
No. What music is it? Resign.
Graduation. Graduation.
We'd be so bad on that.
Actually, the lady who sat next to me got it. It's abdicate.
Any questions on this side? Yes.
So,
No.
Shout it out.
sure. So this is for Hal Linden and Next Scale. So there were some episodes where Jack Sue would perform, and I could see the actors behind him, like laughing, like you guys could not control yourselves. Like you tried to stay in the role, but like he would do something, and you're like, like you're. So like, just share about like any moments on the set, like in the show, where like something just went awry, and you just had to roll with it.
No, that never happened on Barney. Never did. Barney was, we didn't come up with those funny lines, I promise you, it was written. We were good actors executing a good script. Jack Sue happened to be a very funny person. And interesting person too. Jack Sue was interned in Utah when the Japanese internment in World War II, and he got out by joining the army and fighting in Italy. One would think that would lead to a certain amount of bitterness, anger. Not Jack. Jack dealt with it with humor, and he just approached everything as if it had to be funny. So that was our reaction to Jack. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, and that's true, and I've heard that before. People, although you guys are cracking up in the background, and then there's a sense of projection or something, because, I mean, we did have times where we would crack up in a scene or something, but then we would start and do it again. You know, because then you know, I mean, it worked well on like the Carol Burnett show or something like that, where people are going off and you kind of join with them on that. But we were more, you know, focused on what's that life going on that makes it funny, you know, to people watching. There's humor in what's going on, but we weren't, you know.
No, this was a scripted comedy show.
Question? Yes.
Yeah, but extending on that, like the greatest characters on the show were usually the guest stars playing the criminals.
Yeah.
Are there any particularly memorable character actors who came on that you want to talk about?
All of them.
Yeah.
All of them. You have to understand. You're right. It was all the perps and the victims. They carried all. They were the wild characters. And I'll tell you, every time we would come up with a piece of business or something in rehearsal or something, and offer it to Danny Arnold or whoever's directing, or particularly Danny, he would say, this was his red line as far as our performances were concerned. He said, would you go to a cop for help who acts like that? We had to be functioning police officers, and that cut a lot of comedy out of our. So it wasn't the way we did what we did; it was what we did. That was, and particularly reacting to the perps and the victims who came into precinct.
Wasn't there an episode where Wojo arrests a prostitute and there was I don't want to give up the line, where...
I'll tell that
Okay.
story.
Yeah.
Well, it was more of a pattern that Wojo would fall for hookers over the
Yes.
years, but Hal knows the story about that.
The script was basically Wojo fell for a hooker. And his way of dealing with it was he busts the entire house. And so at every desk is another hooker. And that's just a waste of time. And I finally tell him, you can't do that. It's a waste of time. You get court dates, they don't show up. Nobody runs after them, and they forget about it. And then it happens again. It's a waste of time. We can't do that. So he does it again. And eventually asks the hooker for a date, and she says, sure, like everybody else, $50. Wojo is, of course, devastated by this. Catholic, Polish. At the end of the show, and as Wojo's leaving, and we have this kind of father-son talk about how you can't change other people. You can only change your reaction to what they do. That's it. You don't even try. And as he's leaving, he turns to me and says, Barney, can you lend me $50 to pay that? Now, you don't have to be a genius to realize that the entire half hour is leading up to that one line. The network said, you can't say that on television. Then he said, why not? But that means he's going to go with the girl. Then he said, go, good, you got it. I tell the story because this is indicative of the entire series. Danny Arnold envisioned the series in a way, in his mind, and this is what he was going to do. We were shooting this show, and they were still arguing in the office. We got to the last scene, and the director calls up and says, Danny, what do I say? Can he say it? How do I shoot it? And Danny turned to the network. Now, this was the first year, I believe the 5th show. We were in 56th place. We were not a top 10 show. It was, and he turned to the guy and he said, I'm shooting the show the way I wrote it. If you don't put it on, I'm not going to make any more. Do you know what kind of money was riding on that? He mortgaged his house. Seriously, to make those 2 extra shows that I told you about. This was, and that's the kind of guts and determination and singularity of vision that the man had. He said, this is the way it's going to be. Otherwise, it's not.
Because he believed that people would know.
The show, believe it or not, was aired. Did you ever hear of a sitcom with an X rating? They actually put an X rating at the beginning of the show. Two affiliates in Alabama or Mississippi refused to show it. But as soon as the word got out that there was such a thing as an X-rated sitcom,
It was a hit.
we went from 56th place to like 22nd. So there's something to be said for standing up for what you believe in.
We only have a few more minutes. Yes, over there. Yes, stand up if you could.
For Tim Matheson, what was it about directing that drew you away from acting?
I couldn't get work as an actor. you know, as you go through, you know, I started when I was 12, you know, I'm 75. So as you go through your career, you hit certain points where you stop playing leading man, young leading man, older leading man, you're the father of the leading lady, or, you know, and it was a certain period where I had 3 kids, and they were in school, and I just needed to work, and I wanted to work more. And there weren't that many good acting jobs being offered to me, or being put up for. So I just started producing and directing, and that was basically it. And I love it. I just love it, and because you're fully involved and engaged, and I love working with actors too.
The timeline that Tim referred to is, who's Tim Matheson? Get me Tim Matheson. Get me a young Tim Matheson. Who's Tim Matheson?
When you're a director, how is it in the beginning when you're on the other side of the script, you're on the other side of the audition process? How did you acclimate to that? Was it strange at first?
Oh, no, you know, I love actors, I love working with actors, and I do everything I can to make the audition process comfortable and allowing them to do the best job they could, so that I could, one, find the best actor who would do the job, and then give me the ammunition to hire that person. Right. When the producer said, I don't think, no, I said, no, in the room, that's the man or the woman to do it. It wasn't hard. I never had a problem with the acting part of it. It was just the learning the technical aspects of it, and how to do it on time and on budget.
We have time for 2 more. Over here, yes. Stand up.
Okay, thanks. Hello, this is for Tim, and again, thanks for coming. So question, when you were doing Animal House, was there anything that was unscripted that made it into the movie?
It was pretty much the script.
Okay.
The interesting thing about John Landis, the director, wasn't allowed to print more than 1 take of any scene. I mean, wasn't allowed to print more than 1 print of any take. And so he would never cut. He would just say, get back in and do it again, it'd be funnier, do it again, do it. And so, okay, we'd run back in and do it again, you know, and we'd do it 2 or 3 times. But the spirit of it was just to get it, you know, and he basically wanted to keep it as real as possible, and to keep real people, real actors around John Belushi, who was the great improviser. And like the scene where he was in the cafeteria stealing food, that's all improv. I mean, they set a bunch of stuff up. They set the golf ball up, and they set a couple of other props. The rest was John just, it was a sandwich, and he just squeezed it into his mouth, you know what I mean? So he was a force of nature to watch, you know, so.
Yes, back there.
Can you please share with us who in your lives were your mentors and or heroes?
Yeah.
Mentors or heroes?
Oh, boy.
Well, there's my mentor. As I knew at the time I was on the learning curve, but as life has gone on, I've come to appreciate it more and more. What support and a lot of that was just watching how he, you know, not only did The Straight Man, but every way that Hal handled. We'd be shooting late at night, and people would be worn out, and somebody had to kind of hold the center of where, you know. So he's become more my hero than my mentor, and I'm glad to have a chance to tell you that.
I've had a lot of, I've worked with a lot of incredible people in my career, all of whom you try to learn from. You try to break down how they're so marvelous. and trying to figure out how to do it. Certainly Danny Arnold was an incredible, he broke down, as I said, he told me how to make funny. You gotta have somebody to compare them to, you know. I worked for George Abbott on Broadway, an incredible force. Michael Kidd, I can't begin to name everybody. Harnick and Bach were my heroes. There were just so many, I just can't tell them all. Also some great musicians who I just have loved. Dizzy Gillespie was you know, I wish I could play like that. Tons of people.
Tim?
For me, you know, I was, as a child actor, younger actor, I got a chance to work with the previous generations of stars in Hollywood, like Lucille Ball and Henry Fonda and Jackie Gleason, Bob Hope, Debbie Reynolds, and Dick Van Dyke. And so that was a master class in the way things should be done and the right way to do things and to be prepared and all that. But the interesting thing, I think, the other actor I learned the most from, who's a little younger than me, is Kurt Russell. We did a series together. Absolutely. One of the smartest, best actors that I've ever worked with. And he used to say to me, you know, he said, he'd done all the Disney films, and you know, and we were doing a series called The Quest, and it was 1976. And he said, you know, there's only always about 1 or 2 scenes in every picture where I can really, really do something with it. It tells me that that's an important scene, that I can really move the audience or something. He said the rest of them, I try not to do too much. I just you want to get through, play the scene, play it real. But there's just a few that I can do, and that's why he never overacted. You know, he was just solid. He just stood, you know, and so I learned a great deal from him, and he's a good friend.
I think that's a great place to end it. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Please join me in thanking